Hello, future medical professionals. Welcome to an exciting journey through the human body. Today, we are diving deep into excretory products and their elimination, focusing specifically on the crucial process of absorption in the kidneys. Get ready to explore how our kidneys reclaim vital substances, starting from the basics and progressing to competitive level insights. Let's begin our 4-level learning adventure. Let's kick things off with the basics. What exactly is absorption in your kidneys, and why is it so incredibly important for your body? Imagine your kidneys as the ultimate recycling plant for your blood. After filtering out almost everything, the process of absorption, or more accurately, tubular reabsorption, is where your body saves all the good stuff. This includes water, glucose, amino acids, and essential salts that were initially filtered out into the tubules. It's a selective process, ensuring that while wastes are prepared for excretion, valuable nutrients and fluids are returned to your bloodstream. This prevents their loss and maintains your body's delicate internal balance. Think of it as a quality control step, ensuring only true waste is discarded. This vital reabsorption doesn't just happen anywhere. It's a highly organized process occurring in different parts of the nephron's renal tubule. From the proximal convoluted tubule, where most of the initial saving happens, through the loop of Henle, the distal convoluted tubule, and finally the collecting duct, each segment plays a unique role. For example, almost all glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed very early on, while water and some salts are reabsorbed throughout, with the amounts adjusted based on your body's needs. This intricate system is key to maintaining hydration and electrolyte levels. Now that we've covered the basics of tubular reabsorption, it's time to test your understanding with a few easy practice questions. Take a moment to read each question carefully and select the best answer. This will help solidify your foundational knowledge before we move on to more complex concepts. Ready to go a bit deeper? Let's unravel the specific mechanisms and sites of reabsorption within the nephron, understanding how our kidneys achieve such remarkable efficiency. Tubular reabsorption is a highly selective and efficient process. After glomerular filtration produces a vast volume of filtrate, the tubules embark on a massive reclamation effort, returning about 99% of filtered water and most solutes back to the blood. The proximal convoluted tubule, or PCT, is a powerhouse, reabsorbing approximately 70 to 80% of electrolytes and water. Crucially, it reclaims virtually all glucose, amino acids, and vitamins, preventing their loss. This bulk reabsorption is often driven by active sodium transport, which creates electrochemical gradients, facilitating the passive movement of other ions and water. The PCT also plays a significant role in bicarbonate reabsorption, vital for maintaining acid-base balance. Moving beyond the PCT, the loop of Henle takes center stage in creating the medullary osmotic gradient, which is essential for concentrating urine. The descending limb is highly permeable to water but impermeable to electrolytes, allowing water to exit by osmosis into the hyperosmolar medulla, thereby concentrating the tubular fluid. In stark contrast, the ascending limb is impermeable to water but actively pumps out electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and chloride into the interstitium. This differential permeability and active transport are key to building and maintaining the high osmolarity of the renal medulla. Further along, the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct engage in conditional reabsorption, where the amount of water and salts reabsorbed is precisely regulated by hormones, tailored to the body's moment-to-moment needs. The movement of substances across the tubular cells relies on various transport mechanisms. Active transport, which requires energy in the form of ATP, is crucial for substances like sodium, glucose, and amino acids, moving them against their concentration gradients. For instance, the sodium-potassium pump on the basolateral membrane of tubular cells actively expels sodium into the interstitial fluid. Conversely, Passive transport mechanisms, which do not require direct energy, include osmosis for water movement and diffusion for certain ions and urea, moving them down their electrochemical gradients. Understanding these distinct transport types is fundamental to appreciating the kidney's sophisticated reabsorption capabilities. You've just navigated through the intricate details of tubular reabsorption at a medium level. Now, challenge yourself with these 5 practice questions. They'll help you consolidate your understanding of specific reabsorption sites, transport mechanisms, and hormonal influences within the nephron. Ready to elevate your knowledge? Let's analyze the sophisticated cellular and molecular processes that govern tubular reabsorption and connect them to broader physiological theories. At a more advanced level, tubular reabsorption involves a fascinating interplay of active and passive transport mechanisms. Primary active transport, like the Na plus K plus ATPase pump on the basolateral membrane, directly uses ATP to create crucial electrochemical gradients. This gradient then powers secondary active transport, where cotransporters like SGLT move glucose and sodium together across the apical membrane. Passive transport, including osmosis via aquaporins for water and diffusion for ions and urea, also plays a significant role, driven by concentration and electrical gradients. The PCT, with its extensive brush border and abundant mitochondria, is a prime example of this efficiency, performing isosmotic reabsorption where both solute and water are reabsorbed proportionally, maintaining fluid osmolarity. The loop of Henle is a masterpiece of biological engineering, operating as a countercurrent multiplier system. Its descending limb is highly permeable to water but impermeable to solutes, while the ascending limb is impermeable to water but actively pumps out solutes. This differential permeability, coupled with active transport in the ascending limb, builds and maintains the critical hyperosmotic medullary interstitial gradient, reaching up to 1200 milliosmoles per liter. This gradient is absolutely essential for the kidney's ability to produce concentrated urine. The distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct then fine-tune reabsorption, with segments like the late DCT containing principal cells that respond to aldosterone for sodium and potassium balance, and intercalated cells for acid-base regulation, showcasing the precise control mechanisms at play. Understanding tubular reabsorption also involves delving into key physiological theories and concepts. The tubular maximum, or TM, is a critical concept for substances like glucose and amino acids. It represents the maximum rate at which these substances can be reabsorbed by carrier proteins. If the filtered load of a substance exceeds its TM, as seen in uncontrolled diabetes mellitus where blood glucose levels are very high, the excess substance will appear in the urine, leading to conditions like glucosuria. Furthermore, the process of urea recycling in the inner medullary collecting duct significantly contributes to the medullary osmotic gradient. Urea is reabsorbed from the collecting duct into the interstitium, thus enhancing the kidney's ability to reabsorb water and produce concentrated urine, demonstrating a complex interplay of waste product management and fluid balance. You've tackled some complex ideas about tubular reabsorption. Now, challenge your analytical skills with these 7 hard-level practice questions. These questions require a deeper understanding of mechanisms, sites, and physiological implications, preparing you for more intricate biological problems. All right, future experts. Prepare to engage with the pinnacle of knowledge on tubular reabsorption. We are about to explore competitive-level insights, delve into engineering analogies, and connect these intricate processes to clinical scenarios. This is where you truly master the subject. At the highest level of understanding, renal tubular reabsorption is a symphony of diverse transport mechanisms. Primary active transport, epitomized by the Na plus K plus ATPase, creates the foundational electrochemical gradient. This gradient then fuels secondary active transport, involving both symporters like SGLT, which cotransport Na plus and glucose, and antiporters like the Na plus H plus exchanger, which moves Na plus in while expelling H plus. Passive processes, including osmosis through aquaporin channels and diffusion of ions like chloride and urea, complete this intricate ballet. Each segment of the nephron exhibits unique cellular specializations, the PCT with its vast brush border and mitochondria for bulk reabsorption, the loop of Henle as the engine of the countercurrent multiplier system, and the DCT and collecting duct with their principal and intercalated cells, meticulously fine-tuning electrolyte and acid-base balance. The inner medullary collecting duct's controlled permeability to urea via specific transporters is a final, crucial detail, amplifying the medullary osmotic gradient. The elegance of the kidney's design can be appreciated through an engineering lens. The countercurrent multiplier system in the loop of Henle is a biological marvel, analogous to highly efficient industrial separation units. It maximizes the recovery of water from the filtrate by progressively increasing the osmotic gradient in the renal medulla, much like a multi-stage evaporator concentrates a solution. The differential permeability of the loop's limbs, combined with active ion pumping, represents a sophisticated membrane separation technology. Hormonal regulation adds another layer of control. ADH acts as a master switch for water channels, aldosterone fine-tunes sodium and potassium, and ANP counteracts these, showcasing a complex feedback control system. Understanding these engineering principles allows us to grasp how the kidney achieves such precise homeostatic regulation with remarkable energy efficiency. Hormonal control orchestrates the kidney's reabsorptive capabilities with exquisite precision. ADH, or vasopressin, is the body's primary water-saving hormone. It acts on V2 receptors in the principal cells of the DCT and collecting duct, triggering the insertion of aquaporin to channels into the apical membrane, dramatically increasing water reabsorption and concentrating the urine. Aldosterone, a mineralocorticoid, targets the same principal cells, enhancing sodium reabsorption and potassium secretion by upregulating NAC channels and Na plus K plus ATPase, thereby regulating blood volume and pressure. In contrast, atrial natriuretic peptide, or ANP, released in response to high blood volume, acts to inhibit sodium reabsorption and counteracts ADH and aldosterone, promoting natriuresis and diuresis. Parathyroid hormone, PTH, ensures calcium homeostasis by promoting its reabsorption in the DCT. These hormones collectively ensure that the kidney dynamically adapts to changes in hydration, electrolyte balance, and blood pressure, maintaining the internal milieu within narrow physiological limits. The impact of reabsorption extends directly into clinical practice and pathophysiology. Conditions like glucosuria, the presence of glucose in urine, are a direct consequence of the filtered load of glucose exceeding the renal tubule's maximum reabsorptive capacity, or TM, a hallmark of uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. Understanding TM is critical for diagnosing and managing such metabolic disorders. Furthermore, defects in specific reabsorption pathways can lead to various renal tubular disorders, such as Fanconi syndrome, a generalized PCT dysfunction resulting in the loss of multiple vital solutes. Diuretics, a class of drugs, exert their therapeutic effects by specifically targeting and inhibiting reabsorption at different nephron segments, demonstrating how manipulating these processes can treat conditions like hypertension and edema. Finally, the concept of glomerular-tubular balance highlights the kidney's intrinsic ability to adjust reabsorption in response to changes in filtration, ensuring stable solute excretion and preventing imbalances, underscoring the kidney's remarkable adaptability and resilience. You've delved into the most challenging aspects of tubular reabsorption. Now, it's time to apply your comprehensive knowledge. Here are the first 5 out of 10 competitive level practice questions. These questions demand detailed understanding, critical thinking, and the ability to integrate concepts from across the topic. Good luck! Let's continue to test your mastery. Here are the remaining 5 questions, designed to push your understanding even further. These questions might involve clinical scenarios, detailed mechanisms, or comparisons, reflecting the complexity you might encounter in advanced examinations. Take your time, analyze carefully, and choose the best answer. Congratulations on completing this in-depth exploration of absorption in the kidneys. From the basics to the most advanced concepts, you've gained a comprehensive understanding of how your body reclaims vital substances and maintains homeostasis. Keep pushing your boundaries and exploring the wonders of biology. For more such engaging and detailed educational content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for continuous learning. Stay curious, stay brilliant.